Good afternoon. I'm back. So Mary went on home so she could try to beat the rain. And I have got my bread. It's risen. It has to rise 2 hours. For those of you who were watching this morning, and welcome. Pinky Mouse Cakes, Cookies, and Candy. Pinky Mouse Sisters in the kitchen, and I'm Linda. So I'll give it just a second here to see if anyone else gets on. I didn't create the event because I wasn't quite sure how long it would be before I would get on. So I have my plate that I had covered. I had my bread dough covered. To just kind of recap, we mixed this up this morning, and the bread has to rise, the dough has to rise 2 hours. But I set the timer for 90 minutes. And the last 30 minutes, I turned the oven on 425, and I put my Dutch oven in the oven with the lid because it needs to be really hot when you put your bread in it. So I've got a pretty big piece of parchment paper here. I'm going to just put a tiny bit of oil on it. Whoops, I forgot to get my flour and knife. I'll have to grab that. And I'm going to put a little oil on a paper plate to kind of put my hands in, and I'll grab a couple things. Mike's cleaned up the kitchen now. I'm fixing to be dirtying up some more stuff, but y'all give me just a second here, and let me get what I need. Grab some flour. Okay, so I got my bench scraper, my knife, and some flour. And I'm going to lay my knife on the plate, and I'm going to just oil the bench scraper a little bit. And you can see my dough. It's very, very light. It has risen. It's about double in size. I'm going to just oil this, and I'm also going to oil my hands and oil the paper. And we're going to set this in the Dutch oven, and I'll show you that in a minute, but it's going to be done over there at the stove. So I'm going to take my, you see how light that is? I'm going to take this out and get it out of the bowl. Hopefully I can do this with y'all seeing it. It's just going to come, should just come right out. Get the rest of this out of here because I don't want to lose any. Now, this is kind of surprising because this dough is so light, you wouldn't think it would be a dense bread, but it is. And see, because I oil my parchment paper, it's not going to stick. So I'm going to just kind of spread it out, and I'm going to add my ½ cup of chopped walnuts. And I also have a ½ cup of chopped cranberries. And these are dried cranberries. Move this aside. Now I'm going to just kind of, I want these in the bread, so I'm just going to kind of press it and fold over to try to get this, make sure that it gets distributed good in the bread. Now, we used to buy this from Panera, and I'm sure their recipe was different than mine, but they don't even make this anymore. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was about $18 a loaf that they charge for this bread. And y'all saw how simple it was to make this morning when y'all saw me make it. So it's real easy to make. And we're going to dust some flour on it. You know, when you go in a bakery and you find those delicious loaves of bread and it's got that dust of flour on the top of it, we're going to put some on here too. kind of don't want the cranberries on the top. I'm trying to get them in the dough because I don't want them to get too dark while they're baking. Okay, so we're just going to spread a little bit of flour. I'm just going to do this with my hands. And I'm going to use my knife to just make some slits across it. You don't want to go all the way through your dough. You just kind of want to make some X's. You can do it however you want to, but just don't go all the way down through the dough. Okay. Now I'm going to move the camera over here, and I'm going to put this over here because I've got to lift that heavy Dutch oven out of the oven, and then I'm going to pick this up and set it in the Dutch oven. Now be very careful when you're taking this out of the oven because this pot has been in here. It's enamel cast iron, and it's been in here for 30 minutes, so it is very hot. You do not want to burn yourself. I'm actually using double pot holders. Close the oven so I can get to what I'm doing. Let's see here. Y'all can see this. Okay, now this is extremely, extremely hot. Okay, I'm just going to lay this down here. And I'm going to lift this up by the parchment, just like this. And I'm going to set it down in the Dutch oven. Now when you cut your parchment paper, you want to have it big enough that it's going to come up on the sides. I'm being real careful not to touch this pan because if you do, it's going to take the skin off your fingers. Okay, so then I'm going to put the lid back on it, and I'm going to put it in the oven. I'm going to bake it. It's on 425. I'm going to bake it for 30 minutes. Then I'm going to take the lid off and bake another 12 minutes. So this has to bake 42 minutes total. So get my lid back on it here. Kind of put that down like that. Doesn't matter if a little bit of it's sticking out. So I'm going to stick this back in here, and I'm going to back this up because I don't want to run over it while I'm trying to put this in the oven. Okay. And set my timer for 30 minutes. And then I'm going to, when I get it done, I won't get back on to do another video, but I will get back on to show you what it looks like. I mean, I'm not get back on, I'm sorry. I will take a picture. So I'm going to put it on my wooden cutting board, because this bread always looks so pretty on a wood cutting board. And I'm going to be using one of our new knives. This is, some of you who have watched us for a long time know that we use these coated knives. Well, they've added this bread knife to the new spring products, and it has the plastic sleeve on it, and I'm going to be using this to cut my bread after it cools. So it'll be a while, but probably after, I don't know, later on this afternoon, be sure to look for the picture, because I'll have a picture posted of the bread cut and let you see what it looks like. So I really appreciate y'all getting back on here and bearing with me. I know that several people came on after we had mixed the bread up and asked why we said in the title it was cranberry, walnut, artesian bread, and we were doing sweet potatoes. So if you watch the video from the beginning, the first part, you'll see that we mix the bread up first. Then, because it takes just a short amount of time to mix it up, we did the sweet potatoes. And then I come back on now to show you what I do after the bread's risen. So this is an extremely easy bread recipe to make. I hope that y'all will get in the kitchen and make some. If you don't like cranberries, you could always put raisins, or you could put even dates in it. If you don't like walnuts, you could leave the nuts out all completely if you didn't want nuts in it. I love it with the walnuts. It just gives it a really good taste. But I hope that y'all will make this, and let me know if you do. Let me know what you think about it. I will tell you what that we've done in the past when we got these loaves of bread when Panera used to make it, because it was so expensive. It was like $18 a loaf, and they haven't had it in a couple of years, but if they did, it would be more than that now. But I would divide it into, I would divide the loaf into about 4 packages and wrap it real good with freezer wrap with freeze tight, and then put it in a freezer bag and freeze it in portions so you don't have to take the whole loaf out. And I'm going to do this one the same way too, because it's, you know, you don't want to lose some of your bread because it gets old and stale. So divide it out in portions after it cools, and you slice it, and then divide it out and stick it in your freezer. And then you can take out, you know, 3 or 4 slices at a time, whatever it is. Like if there's 2 of you in your household, or if there's more, you can do it in bigger packages. But it's something that it kind of makes it easier versus taking the whole loaf out. And you do want to slice it before you freeze it, because it'll be a lot harder to thaw a whole loaf of bread than it would just be pieces. So you can even stick little deli sheets in between the piece. I do that sometimes. If you don't have the deli paper, just cut you some pieces of parchment or wax paper and stick it in there between each slices, and then you can pull it apart easily without the bread tearing up. So thank y'all again. Mary and I love y'all, and we appreciate it so much, y'all watching us. And be sure to show kindness to people, and also to count your blessings. We always thank God for every one of you. And I'm still waiting on that address for Neva Johnson. And Neva, you have 24 hours from earlier, from 11 today. But if you could get that to me today, I would certainly appreciate it. That's the second winner that we drew for that 5-inch Santoku knife. I did get Pat's address for the winner today of the measuring cups, set, the Easy Read. So I got her address, and that's already wrapped, and that will be going out tomorrow. So if I get Neva's address, it will also go out. Thank you again. We love y'all. God bless. And we'll see y'all next week. Be sure to tune in, and also to share our page and tell your friends about us. Bye-bye.